He was anointed the future of the quarterback position, but now Spencer Rattler is riding the bench. And it's a feeling he knows all too well. Yanked from the game before halftime, with 2 interceptions to his name. But the battle that would define him wasn't fought on the gridiron. It came from a Netflix series. The number of teams that brought up his portrayal on that show is just staggering. They told me that single image is burned into their minds. To truly grasp his journey, you have to travel back to Phoenix, Arizona, to a time when Spencer Rattler wasn't merely talented, he was the undisputed #1 high school quarterback in the entire nation. And the 2018 Elite 11 MVP is Spencer Rattler. His spotlight moment came on the Netflix documentary QB1, a series chronicling the country's elite recruits, but it immortalized him in a way no one saw coming. There's no way we're losing to these scrubs. What is going on? My receivers are garbage. Instantly, the world branded him as arrogant and conceited. I was just a kid back then, full of confidence, maybe a little too much swagger. And your perspective changes. Watching it now, I just think, man, what was going through my head? But, that's youth for you. I grew from it. And let's be real, he had every right to be confident. We're talking about every single college program in America wanting a piece of him. Yet, amidst all that noise, one choice rose above the rest. Following my high school graduation, I am excited to announce I will be taking my talents, both on the field and in the classroom, to the University of Oklahoma. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, a dynasty of legends. And now, the torch was being passed to the heir apparent, Spencer Rattler. In his debut against Missouri, he didn't just show up, he exploded onto the scene, right down the seam, and it's caught. A stunning 290 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, all before halftime. And no, this is not hyperbole. He is walking the same path as Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, and Baker Mayfield. And just like that, Oklahoma skyrocketed to the #3 spot in the national rankings. The very next week against Kansas State, Rattler lit them up for another 4 scores, etching his name in the school record books for the most touchdowns through the first 2 games. But living by the sword meant dying by it. Fear comes away with it. That's the 3rd pick of the afternoon for Rattler. The Sooners suffer a shocking upset to Kansas State. And heading into the Iowa State game, the weight of the world was on his shoulders. Spencer was making unbelievable plays, but the entire game hinged on one final drive with just 60 seconds left on the clock. He throws into double coverage, and it's a critical error. 2 straight losses to unranked opponents. Suddenly, the Spencer Rattler hype train came to a screeching halt. But Spencer was desperate for redemption, and it had to come in the season's most important matchup. Oklahoma versus Texas. The legendary Red River Showdown. Texas. And we are live from South Dallas. Spencer started the game on fire, leading the Sooners to a quick 10-0 advantage, but then the bottom fell out. Rattler fires over the middle. Intercepted! Oh, he just gift-wrapped that one. On a crucial 3rd and 5, Rattler surveys the field. He fumbles the ball, and Texas recovers. That was the last straw for Coach Riley. A quarterback change is being made. It'll be Tanner Mordecai taking over for Spencer Rattler. The celebrated 5-star recruit, the future of the program, was now watching from the bench. But his coach wasn't ready to give up on him just yet. Rattler escapes the pocket, slides, touchdown. He steps up and delivers. This epic battle raged into a 4th overtime, but in the end, it was Rattler who willed his Sooners to a monumental win. Our defense was phenomenal. The offensive line was just incredible. I made a few mistakes early on, but in this game, you have to find a way to fight back. Spencer became a man tonight. His future is incredibly bright. That bit of adversity lit a fire under him. For what felt like the first time ever, he was forced to take a hard look at himself. I was pulled from the game. He took that moment and turned it into fuel. 3 consecutive victories later, and the buzz was undeniable. Coming up next, a clash with their in-state rivals. Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. This one's going to be insane. It's always a game charged with pure emotion. Our goal is to go out there and execute to get the victory. On the keeper, Spencer stays on his feet. And Spencer absolutely dominated. He delivered 4 touchdown passes, ran for another, and finished with 0 turnovers. Keith gets to the edge, and he's in for the score. He rode that momentum all the way to a Big 12 conference title. Then, in the bowl game against Florida, he was simply unstoppable, heaving it to the end zone. and it's caught by Rambo. So heading into the following season, the hype surrounding Spencer Rattler was at a fever pitch. And it's never too soon to discuss the Heisman Trophy. The frontrunner? Oklahoma's own Spencer Rattler, with odds of 8-1. The Sooners entered the season ranked number 2 in the nation, but that prestige would prove to be short-lived. And that pass is picked off. Rattler throws an interception over the middle. A spectacular diving pick at the 47-yard line by Clark. In their very first game against unranked Tulane, they barely survived with a 40-35 win. This was supposed to be the clear frontrunner for the Heisman Trophy, and to me, his performance was just messy. Their following matchup, however, was a much smoother affair. Facing Western Carolina, Rattler torched them for 5 touchdowns before the half was even over. With the game well in hand, Coach Riley decided it was time to let the backup get some playing time. But this was no ordinary backup waiting in the wings. This was Caleb Williams, a true freshman, and the single most electrifying dual-threat quarterback in the entire country. And just like Spencer, he was the next legendary OU quarterback, which made everything so much harder. The tension finally boiled over against West Virginia. He throws it and it's intercepted. The calls grew louder. We want Caleb Williams. How do you block that out and keep your head in the game? Spencer's response? I don't pay any attention to it. I'm not listening to them. They aren't the ones on the field. The Sooners still got the win, but the questions for Coach Riley were just getting started. We tune all of that out. Anything said in the heat of the moment during a game is completely irrelevant. But not everyone was convinced it was entirely Spencer's fault. I have become absolutely sick of hearing our own crowd chanting for Caleb Williams. Yes, the backup is gifted, but Spencer Rattler is still out there making throws that only a fraction of people on this planet can make. The real issue this season has been an offensive line that is very much a work in progress. Despite all the outside noise, Oklahoma remained a perfect 5-0, and Spencer himself was riding a personal 11-game win streak, but the next game on the schedule was the one that mattered most. It was time for the Red River Showdown, Oklahoma versus Texas. The scene was the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. Spencer Rattler admitted to us that the animosity from his own fans after the West Virginia win was fueling him. And Texas exploded out of the gate. Xavier Worthy blazed in for a touchdown, and after a blocked punt, Bijan Robinson punched another one in. The Longhorns stormed to a 14-0 lead just 2 minutes into the contest. Rattler scrambled for a rushing touchdown, fighting to claw his team back into the fight, but just a couple of plays later, every ounce of momentum vanished. He has time, it's picked off. He just gift-wrapped that one. On a critical 4th and 1, the Sooners had no choice but to go for it. So Riley put Caleb in the game, hoping his legs could move the chains. He has the first down, he keeps it himself, he makes a cut, and he's dancing free. And look at him go! Caleb Williams is loose in the secondary. They are scrambling to chase him down. He dives. Touchdown, Oklahoma! It was the jolt of lightning OU desperately needed. The stage was now set for Rattler to reclaim that energy. They believe it's Rattler. He's got it in heavy traffic and he loses the football. It's a turnover. It was history repeating itself. It seems Lincoln Riley is about to make the same choice he made last season. He's pulling Spencer Rattler, who had 2 turnovers last year, an interception and a fumble. The exact same thing has happened here today. Let's see what Caleb Williams is capable of. Taking over in a game this massive is an impossible task for a true freshman. But Caleb Williams is not just any freshman. Now he's trying to create some magic. Touchdown! That could have been a catastrophe! He's got a clean pocket, steps up, launches it deep for Mims. A diving reception. On one of the game's most pivotal plays, the Sooners had to have a 2-point conversion, and Coach Riley sent Spencer back onto the field. Oh, he fires! It's caught! The conversion is good. The game is tied. But that was his final act. Rattler was motioned back to the sideline, forced to watch Caleb Williams captain one of the greatest comeback victories in the annals of OU football. Did anyone really know this Caleb kid was this good? In all my time watching this sport, I have never witnessed a fall from grace like what has happened to Spencer Rattler. He was the consensus number 1 overall pick in the draft, and you're telling me he's on the verge of losing his starting position? No, he's not about to. It's already gone. Heading into the next matchup against TCU, only one question mattered. Who was their starting quarterback? And on the day of the game, Coach Riley revealed his answer. Well, it looks like a very popular decision here in Norman, Oklahoma. Let me tell you something. This young man has that it thing. Whatever it is, he's got it. And that moment marked the end of Spencer Rattler's journey with Oklahoma. Caleb commanded the team for the remainder of the season, and while Spencer handled the situation with class, he was never meant to be a backup. We have breaking news. Quarterback Spencer Rattler has officially put his name into the transfer portal. Was there any resentment towards Oklahoma? Of course I was salty about it. I'm a fierce competitor. I need to be on that field, playing. We were winning, you know? Like I said, we were undefeated when I got sent to the bench. So I'm just thinking, damn. But hey man, that's life. You live and you learn. Just like his high school days, he could have chosen nearly any program in the country, but his final decision was an unexpected one. Former Oklahoma quarterback Spencer Rattler just announced his commitment to transfer to South Carolina. If you had told me coming out of high school, or even when I first entered the portal, that I'd end up at South Carolina, I would have called you insane. But there was something special about Coach Beamer, about how genuine he was, and I'd already known him for the past 2 years. I feel completely renewed. It's like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders. But South Carolina battled in the SEC, and those defenses are absolutely relentless. Rattler surveys the field. He lofts one toward the end zone, and it is intercepted. They're looking for the wheel route. Rattler, and he is sacked again. That will seal it. He was picked off 5 times in just the first 3 games of the year, which included a disastrous outing against Georgia. And when they faced number 13 ranked Kentucky, things hit a new low. A 4-man pressure and they get home. Kentucky has fallen on it. The play clock is ticking down to 1 second and he's launching it deep into coverage, intercepted. You know, I pulled Spencer aside at halftime of that Kentucky game and said, look man, you are going to have to go out there and make some incredible plays in this second half and win this game for us. And I know you can, and I know you will. That lit a fire under him. He started the second half with a 42-yard bomb that put the Gamecocks back in the lead. In a stunning turn, they took down the Wildcats 24-14. It seemed like Spencer was finally finding his groove, but the road ahead was brutal. Their next opponent was Tennessee, ranked 5th in the nation. Our entire mindset just shifted. We basically said, you know what? To hell with it. Let's just go out there and let it rip all over the field. He steps into the pocket, launches another one deep, and it's hauled in, a bomb to the end zone for the score. This has to be the greatest game I've ever seen. Without a doubt, it was our all-time favorite, and guys like him were the reason it felt so effortless. I don't think I've ever felt more dominant in a game. I was completely unstoppable. The stats tell the story. He unleashed for 438 yards and a staggering 6 touchdowns. In a stunning upset, the Gamecocks took down the Bulls, and Spencer Rattler emerged as the hero of the day. But he bristles at the narrative. I can't stand it when people say, oh, the old Spence is back. You know, that side of my game never disappeared. It was always there. I just needed to adjust to a whole new league, a different team, a foreign system, and new coaches. I guess everything just finally clicked at the perfect moment. But the next challenge was a behemoth, the Clemson Tigers. They were the number 8 team in the nation, and Spencer was walking into that battle with more confidence than he'd ever had. Rattler takes the snap, fires a quick pass to the left, but it's picked off! Jeremiah Trotter has it, and he's racing toward the end zone. I just told everyone, we're gonna be fine. The last time I'd thrown an interception that was returned for a touchdown was way back in my sophomore year of high school. You can't do anything about it. You just have to keep battling. He'd started every game that year, now he's back on the field, and he lets go of a dreadful pass. A horrific decision, and it's intercepted again. The game began like a complete nightmare. Yet, Rattler refused to fold. He was no stranger to adversity, so he simply zoned in and got to work. He started making unbelievable plays, carving his name into the history books. Spencer Rattler drops back, wants to air it out, and unleashes a deep ball. And it's caught. A Gamecock touchdown! Everything was trending in the right direction. Just an unbelievable moment. They had a 40-game winning streak on their home turf. We hadn't beaten them since 2013. To come in here and take down 2 top 10 teams in consecutive weeks, man, it feels incredible. Riding that massive wave of momentum, the NFL draft was no longer a dream, it felt like a genuine possibility. However, the moment he received his draft grade, the path became clear. All right, we have some major news for all you Gamecock football fans. Quarterback Spencer Rattler has decided to return to Columbia for one more season. There was just so much unfinished business, especially with how we played from November on. we hit another level, and we want to carry that energy into the upcoming year. The new season kicked off against North Carolina, fronted by the ascending star Drake Maye, but Rattler was under siege from the start. His offensive line collapsed, and he was sacked an unbelievable 9 times. I'm sure a few of those are on me. I'll see it when I review the film. But we'll get things cleaned up on the front line. We'll figure it out. And that quote essentially defined their entire season. South Carolina finished with a 5-7 record, and Spencer was taken down 40 times. Through it all, he never once complained. Not a single word. Honestly, I feel like we failed him in a way. It was far from the season he had envisioned, but his heart was full of gratitude. His time at South Carolina had fundamentally changed his life. Now, he was prepared to take that next step, the NFL draft. But the quarterback class he was entering was absolutely loaded with talent. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake Maye, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix. I believe you are the single most underrated quarterback in this draft. Do you see it that way? I suppose you could make that argument. You can only control what's in your power. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and you have to respect that. When draft day arrived, the first round played out exactly as predicted. A historic 6 quarterbacks were taken in the first round, but as the picks kept coming in, Spencer's name remained on the board. He was slipping. This was the player once projected to be the number 1 overall pick, and here he was, still waiting for a call deep into the 5th round. And frankly, the reason why is a little strange. Back in high school, Spencer Rattler was on a reality series called QB1 Beyond the Lights, and to put it mildly, it wasn't a flattering portrayal. It's shocking how many teams brought up his depiction on that show. They told me that image of him was something they just couldn't shake. And then, at long last, in the 5th round, with the 150th pick, Spencer Rattler, the quarterback. Look, I believed I belonged up there with the top guys, somewhere in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round. But at the end of the day, I feel blessed just to be picked by the Saints. It honestly didn't matter which team called my name. And while the long wait was painful, he found himself in a promising position. The team had a seasoned veteran in Derek Carr, giving Spencer the chance to sit back and learn. His only immediate challenge was to win the backup job from Jake Haener. But then, only a few weeks into the season, Carr suffered an injury mid-game. The Saints initially turned to Jake Haener, but by the following week, they had a change of heart. We have some breaking news. Oh, and getting the start. I'm incredibly excited. You know, this is the moment you grind your whole life for. It's terrible that Derek was injured, but I have a job to do. My focus is on going out there and performing at the highest possible level. His first start was against the Buccaneers, a fierce division rival. Their quarterback, none other than Baker Mayfield, the very man who recruited Spencer to OU. And Spencer had no intention of backing down. Rattler shows the fake, gives a pump, and launches it downfield. For the lead! It's a touchdown! In the first half, Rattler was absolutely on fire. But the second half was a different story. He threw 2 interceptions and Tampa clawed their way back to win. And the pass is intercepted. I mean, you have to remember, he was a rookie thrown into one of the most difficult situations imaginable. The offensive line was decimated by injuries, and his group of receivers was ranked among the worst in the entire league. His next opponent was one of the league's most dominant defenses, and they made his life an absolute nightmare. He's under pressure. 2nd down and 10. The pocket collapses, and he's swarmed under for a sack. For the Saints coaching staff, that was the final straw. It was a devastatingly familiar story. For the 3rd time in his football career, Spencer Rattler was sent to the bench. Jake Haener took over as the starter until Carr was healthy, but then the veteran quarterback went down with another injury. This time the Saints decided to stick with Jake, but he couldn't find a rhythm either, and that pass is picked off. And so, the door opened for Rattler once more. 2nd and 11. Rattler drops back and unleashes a pass down the field. He masterminded a furious comeback, and with just 3 seconds left on the clock, he had an opportunity to tie the game. All right, this is it. Rattler unleashes it to the end zone. Touchdown. Spencer immediately threw up 2 fingers, ready to risk it all. This is the game. Rattler for the win. He fires, but it falls incomplete. Despite the soul-crushing loss, he held on to the starting job for the last 3 games, but it was an absolutely brutal season. Spencer played in 7 games that year and lost every single one. But even in defeat, he found reason to be grateful. Honestly, I think it was great getting thrown into that fire much sooner than anyone anticipated. I never thought I'd get a single start in my rookie year, especially considering where I was drafted, but I was blessed with the chance to get 6 starts and log some real game time. It was a brutal year for the whole organization. For all of us as a team, we fought our hearts out every single game, but not one of us ever quit. We just kept on fighting. Entering 2025, there was a new energy for the Saints, with a new head coach in Kellen Moore and a healthy Derek Carr returning to command the offense. But the season was immediately thrown into chaos. Breaking news, Derek Carr has just announced his retirement. In an instant, the Saints' world was turned upside down. Could they truly hand the franchise over to Spencer? The draft provided a shocking answer when, in the second round, the NFL commissioner announced the New Orleans Saints select Tyler Shuck, quarterback from Louisville. Wow. Suddenly, Tyler Shuck was poised to walk right into a starting role. The quarterback competition was officially on. We've been battling it out every single day. I believe the competition brings out the best in both of us. We have total respect for each other's abilities, and we push each other to be better every practice. When the dust of training camp settled, Kellen Moore had come to a decision. Spencer Rattler is going to be our starting quarterback. We are incredibly excited for him. He has done a phenomenal job this entire offseason. I'm just deeply grateful for this shot. No matter how it turned out, I was prepared to accept it, but obviously, I desperately wanted to be the starter. Spencer entered the season as the guy, and this time, he was completely unleashed. Down the sideline, one-on-one coverage on Johnson, he adjusts, and it's a touchdown, Rattler to Lorenzo. He fires it to the back of the end zone. His improvement was undeniable, but it wasn't translating to victories, as the team stumbled to 0-4. But as always, he refused to break, staying positive and continuing to grind. Rattler goes to the air, launching it deep down the field. Shaheed has blazing speed, touchdown. And then it happened. Finally. After 11 straight agonizing losses, Spencer Rattler secured his first ever NFL win. All right, how's it feel? Not as good as you feel, I'm sure. Man, it feels incredible. It feels so good to finally get that win. It was a complete team effort. The defense was phenomenal, and our O-line played at an elite level today. But just when it seemed the Saints were finding their rhythm, everything fell apart. They suffered a crushing loss to the Patriots. Then another loss, this time against his former backup, Caleb Williams. But it was in the game against the Bucs that his season came to a screeching halt. He decides to run. The ball is out. Fumble, and the Buccaneers have recovered it. Oh, it's intercepted and taken all the way to the end zone. And there on the sideline, 26-year-old Tyler Shuck is putting on his helmet. He is about to come in and relieve Spencer Rattler. As Tyler Shuck jogs onto the field, you can see and hear the divided reaction from the stadium. Yeah, we came out of the half and just couldn't get a drive going. We kept getting pushed back and back and back. Coach just said, hey, we're going with Tyler to see if we can get a spark, see what happens. It's just part of the business. All I can do now is be a great teammate, respond the right way, be a complete pro about it, and just help this team however I can. The media was immediately split. While some analysts agreed with the move, others were left absolutely questioning the logic. You're telling me you're benching Spencer Rattler, a quarterback who is completing over 70% of his passes? A guy who is actively stretching the field? This man had 8 completions of over 10 yards, and you pull him for Tyler Shuck? This kid looks like he has no clue what he's doing out there. So the question remains, are the Saints making the right call? Honestly, we don't know. That story is far from over. But if Spencer Rattler's career could be summed up in one word, that word is adversity. Being sent to the bench is nothing new for him, and he will continue to put in the work. I have been through adversity before. I am going to be a phenomenal teammate, have great body language, and continue to be a leader. So I've just got to show up to work, keep a smile on my face, keep grinding, control what I can control, and just maintain that same aggressive mindset. If you want to show some love to the channel, smash that subscribe button. I've also got an Instagram and a TikTok where I post shorter versions of these stories. So go check those out. The links are in the description. My newsletter is down there too if you want to stay in the loop with the channel. I might even drop some merch one day, so you'll want to be signed up for the newsletter. I'll see you on the next one. Have a blessed day.